so thank you for joining us for our community conversation on marketing and promoting OER. My name is Stephen Kruger, pronouns AM. I am the Affordable Course Content Librarian at the University of Kentucky, and I'm also a member of the OEN Event Planning Committee. So we're excited to dive into this topic today. And to start off, we would like to see how confident you are feeling about marketing and promoting OER on your campus. No wrong answers. So feel free to use the chat, use some emoji. I think this is a small enough group that if someone wants to unmute and share a little thing, small things, you can do that. Just to sort of get a sense of the vibes before we get into the main discussion. And while we wait for those answers to trickle in, we have some ground rules outlined here. I'm not going to read through all of them in detail, but they're available. So we would also like to note that the session is currently being recorded. The recording will continue through Morgan's talk, then stop for the breakout session and following. The automatic captioning has been enabled. You can access that using the show captions button at the bottom of your screen. All right, so highlights from how people are feeling. Some good expressive faces here. The best I'm seeing is semi-confident. So Morgan do with that, but oh, there's a pretty confident. Okay. Pretty okay. Identifying the differences between marketing and dealing with the campus channels, which are relatable. All right, so feel free to keep putting that feedback in the chat, but before we hand it over to Morgan for the main talk, I'd like to share our agenda. So we'll be starting now with the welcome introduction. We'll spend some time on a contributor presentation about the topic. Then we will get into about 15 minutes of breakout rooms. So that's going to be a small group discussion. That will be divided, I think we said it would be divided by your institution size or possibly type. Lorraine's going to figure out which one that is, and we'll go accordingly. Don't feel like you have to, if you don't fit exactly into one of the options, figure out which one makes the most sense for you or which one has people in it. And then after that, we will go back to a general debrief where we come back and talk about how the breakout rooms went and anything that people want to share from there. Then we will wrap up. So the breakout rooms are an opportunity for small group discussion, but you will also have the option to stay in the main room, which and camera off muted, so you don't have to do a breakout room if you don't want to, or if something calls you away. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our contributor for the day. Morgan Briles is the Open Educational Resources Librarian at the University of Oklahoma, and she will be talking about OER marketing and promotion.
Hello, thank you. So my name's Morgan Briles. I'm the OER librarian at the University of Oklahoma in Norman, which is up in the general Oklahoma City area. I've been in my position here for about 3 years now. And I'm very fortunate that OER is the primary focus of my job. It's not like a tacked on to like a liaison duties or something like that. And my primary job responsibility is administering our alternative textbook grant, which we call the ATG for short. This is our OER incentive program, and we provide small stipends to instructors to switch from commercial textbooks to OER or other low-cost materials, including library subscription materials. And so a lot of what I'll talk about today is the marketing and promotion of that specific program, but I also will talk about OER promotion outside of that cycle. And I am by no means a marketing professional. I'm a librarian slash wannabe medievalist who is trying her best. So I'm very open to suggestions, ideas, and stuff, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about everyone's experiences. So our alternative textbook grant was established in 2014, and it was actually a top-down push from the president of the university at the time, which sort of helped increase everyone's awareness and kind of put it on people's radars since it was coming from the president. And we also had a really big push from the dean of the largest college on our campus, which is Arts and Sciences. He was a sociology professor, and he adopted OpenStack, so he was a big promoter of that. So it has its pros and cons being kind of a top-down push. But it did kind of help when the program launched, it really like took off and had lots of PR because of that. So during the global pandemic in 2020 and 2021, we did a pause of our OER outreach efforts. For most of 2020 and 2021, there was also some personnel changes. So when I began my position in January of 2022, I was sort of in charge of like reinvigorating a program, regaining momentum, and letting faculty know about OER, about our grant program. So I didn't start from complete scratch, but like there definitely was a pause and sort of an effort to be like, hey guys, look at me. Um, our application period is from January to about mid-March. So basically, once I get back from Christmas break through the end of spring break, I'm promoting and talking about the grant. So when the grant opens, it's usually the first week of the spring semester. We've got a little news story on our library website that announces we're accepting applications, if there have been any changes from previous year's cycle, if there's been any like notable stories or anecdotes that have come about. They're going to be shared in there, and all of our social media posts and blurbs that are newsletters, they link back to that story. So it's also prominently displayed on the library website that we're taking applications. I also have an existing web presence with LibGuides. So there's one for the ATG specifically, and then there's one for OER more generally. So I have a cycle where I update the ATG guide with any changes in early January before the grant kicks off. And then I update the OER one in August before new faculty orientation. I don't present at new faculty orientation, but representatives from the library, they do mention this as a service we offer. And we'll like give them my contact information and stuff. So I make sure that that's all up to date and ready to go by then. So to promote the grant, I offer virtual information sessions for those who are interested. These are done via Zoom using LibCal. I book them for an hour, but I usually only have 20 to 25 minutes to talk about of content. So I want to make sure there's lots of time for questions. Usually between 1 and 5 people attend, though, sometimes you have no one attend and you're just kind of staring into the void, but that's okay. It happens. I try to have a session each month that the grant is open, and this was the first year that I was able to do one in January, February, and March, and people attended all of them, which was pretty exciting. I also send out our liaison librarians, I ask them to send an email to like their department library liaisons. So like their library liaison for chemistry or what have you. I write all the text for them, basically announcing that it's happening, include links to the LibCal sessions and like, just make it clear I'm available for questions if anyone has them. So outside of the library, we also promote our grant in the university library's newsletter. This comes out via email once a month in the middle of the month, usually the 15th. It's aimed at faculty audience, and we tend to get like pretty good readership of it. I don't have the stats. Obviously, I'm not in OU's marketing department, but it has a blurb saying in January the grant's open, February there's another reminder that it's open and links to the virtual info sessions that I lead. And then in March, there's a reminder that, hey, it's closing. Don't you want to apply? Another newsletter we utilize is the Provost newsletter. So this goes out each Friday near the end of the day. It's aimed at faculty, and it seems to be the most read of any of the newsletters that go out on the Norman campus. So it includes like announcements related to academics, but there's also a calendar for faculty targeted events for the upcoming week. So there'll usually be an announcement that the grant's open, as well as we submit the info sessions to like that calendar. And then as we get closer to them, like we'll see them at the bottom of their list. But yeah, that tends to work well because sometimes that newsletter will go out and then 20 minutes later, there's 2 registrants for the virtual info session. So we know that that's working. Another newsletter that we try to submit to, but I get ignored a lot, is the newsletter for the Vice President for Research and Partnerships. I'm not really sure why I guess they determined that it's out of scope, but you know, I try to let them know that this is happening anyway, and maybe they will bite one year. We've been pretty lucky to have the Dodge Family College of Arts and Sciences support the grant financially, in addition to like marketing wise. It is the largest college on campus, and we have a standing agreement with that college that they will provide matching funds to all grantees that receive a grant from their college, which historically their faculty have taken advantage of. And you know, this could happen anyway because it's the largest college, but they overwhelmingly have received like their faculty have received the most grants over the history of it. So it's nice that like we can add that, you know, these faculty members can get additional funds, and all of our marketing efforts, as well as I usually talk at their January or February chairs and directors meeting, you know, to put a face to a name and, you know, let them know that it's happening and remind them that they get a little extra bonus because this is something that their college supports. I've tried this approach with other colleges on campus, and there have been some mixed results. So our engineering college is open to doing matching funding, but they always ask for more information about the individual applications before agreeing to anything. So it's not something we can like advertise as something they'll do, and it's not guaranteed. But you know, I think getting those supplemental funds for those faculty members is great. You know, I just wish we could like brag about it more. I've also tried to reach out to the business college multiple times about a program like this, and I am usually ignored. But they are getting a new dean, so hopefully I can get a good in with that administration when that starts. So our application period ended a couple weeks ago, and we got 21 applications, which is like the most that we've ever had by far. 3 times more than last year. And since I've been here, we usually get like 10 or 11, but this is 21, so I guess it's working. Okay, so I'm doing stuff in the spring that's very focused on this grant program. So in the fall, I'm able to focus more about general OER marketing and promotion. And I find that it's a good time to like do outreach with students. You know, you can share all of the stats about, you know, how many students don't take a course because of the high cost of textbooks. And those are useful data to have. But actual stories from students on our campus can really like have an impact on faculty. So usually in September after Labor Day, but before like things really get going in fall semester, I do an outreach activity on the South Oval. We don't have a quad on our campus, we have an oval. And I've mistakenly referred to it as the quad and gotten like strange looks from people. So I've done like a more low-key sort of talking to students and a more elaborate setup with like a chart and like candy to give away and things like that. So the picture that's on the slide right now was from our most recent activity, coordinated with someone from marketing to take really nice photos of students. But we asked them 3 questions in addition to their name and major. We asked them how much did they spend on textbooks this semester? Do they remember what the most expensive textbook was, or like for what class that it was for? And what would they have bought with the money instead? So you can see a summary from this student on his slide. Saying the most expensive textbook, it was for a science course, and he would have used the money for food and gas. So if you could turn to the next slide, Lorraine. This is time where I've done it where it's a bit more elaborate and I had more people to help me. So we made this like paper chart and we had a table and candy that we were giving away, and people were coming over, and we asked them to put a dot on this scale for their best guess on how much they spent on textbooks. We have a lot better in the zero or low cost, but we had some that were over 1,000, which seems like insane. And we also had an opportunity where they could write sticky notes, sort of like if they had additional comments. I keep this chart in my office kind of as a reminder of why I do what I do. And it's not as scientific of a data collection as it could be, but we did get 300 student interactions from this. So I hope that we'll be able to recreate this kind of chart activity again. It really is just like flagging down students and asking them if they have a couple minutes to talk. I'm pretty comfortable with it, and I don't get embarrassed when someone like refuses to make eye contact with you and keeps walking. But I know that that's not everybody's comfort level, or that might be outside of your comfort zone. So I'm also like pretty young looking, and I'm a petite white woman, very non-threatening. So, that also impacts my experience, kind of just like hollering at random students while they're walking to class. Be on the lookout for wireless earbuds if you're doing this, because they make it a little bit harder. I also make a point to offer the OEN faculty adoption workshop in the fall. I've done this virtually and in person, and we have only ever gotten one person to attend. So I'm happy to hear some tips about how to get more people interested, because feel like I've tried a lot of the same things and just not getting any bites. So looking into the future, I want to continue to get student testimonials, but from students who are in courses taught by instructors that have received the grant. I think the stories about students impacted by the high cost of textbooks is important, but I think also having more positive testimonials. So students saying like, using this OER made my life so much easier, or, I really liked that the interactivity that this professor choosing this OER did. So because I think faculty, they like to hear from their peers and also their students about why OER is useful. It's just been hard for me to like coordinate these kinds of interviews. Faculty lose contact with students after they've graduated or after that course is over. And so trying to like get people interested in chatting and finding like that group of people has been a little hard. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to like integrate this as like part of our MOU process. Like you have, you know, like you agree that you'll be contacted by us about potential student testimonials, that kind of thing. I'd also like to work more with student government, but it can be hard because the membership changes each year, and some administrations are more interested than others. And also, students are on a very different timeline. So talking about how we can switch biology from, you know, an expensive textbook to an OER in 2 years, you know, 2 years from now is it's great, but it doesn't like impact them the same way that, you know, because they have to take the class now. So yeah, that is overall what we've been doing. It is just me. I don't have a GA or a student worker or anything. So I mean, I think if I had, you know, more help, maybe I could do more robust marketing, but this is what's worked for us as a one person OER shop. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Thank you so much, Morgan. I'm trying not to throw all my questions at you. I was particularly stuck by the one with the putting faces to the names and having the face of the student who's saying, I personally would have bought this thing, and like that makes it a lot less anonymous. So we are going to go into breakout rooms, but if you're seeing any questions that you want to go ahead and answer first, feel free to do that. We are also going to stop recording now.